host and to lead the G20 Before beginning our work,
Más sinceras y profundas condolencias de México, y estoy seguro de todos los aquí presentes, a Su Majestad el Rey de Arabia Saudita, Abdullah bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, y al pueblo de Arabia Saudita por el fallecimiento del príncipe de heredero Naim bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, que impidió a Su Majestad hoy estar con nosotros. Señoras y señores, todos sabemos la grave situación que vive el mundo hoy. En distintas regiones, la economía enfrenta serias dificultades.
Facing serious difficulties. Some regions are in frank recession, others in stagnation, others in a clear slowdown. In parallel terms, some of the oldest problems of humanity, such as hunger and poverty, are getting worse, and they are challenging us right beside completely new problems such as environmental deterioration and climate change. It is clear that the eyes of the world are upon us today. The leaders of the G20 have a large responsibility. Our peoples represent 2/3 of humanity. Our countries carry out over 80% of the world's trade. And if we include all of the European Union, we represent almost 90% of the world's gross domestic product. Our duty is to hold discussions that are sincere and to seek agreements that enable us to face the economic situation, but especially to work on the definition of a future agenda. In the world that we live in today, what any one country does has an effect and an impact on all of the other countries. And that's why we have to look beyond our most immediate concerns, beyond our borders, and to truly watch for the well-being of humanity. And that is, more than anything else, watching over the well-being of our citizens. I trust that this G20 meeting will enable us to define a long-term plan of action, a truly comprehensive program for the sustainable human development that we want, a program that we all aspire to for our peoples and that has mechanisms to enable us to have jobs and have equal opportunities and justice, and clearly one that enables us to have mechanisms that are appropriate for specific and timely follow-up. A plan of action, long-term plan of action, does not intend to ignore the complexities of the current situation. Quite to the contrary, I believe that with representation at the highest levels of the countries involved in the most delicate portions of the crisis, with that we can turn this into a singular forum for dialogue that so as to advance on the solutions which, despite difficulties, are already underway. We're all joined by the solidarity and the determined support of our friends, the peoples and governments of Europe. We have confidence in you. We know that you're making great efforts, and we're sure that from that effort and partially from these deliberations, we will be able to build a stronger, more integrated, more united and responsible Europe, because despite the difficulties of the circumstances, the entire world knows that the peoples and governments of that grand continent is building the new Europe of the 21st century. I truly hope that what we discuss here enables us to progress in the right direction so as to recover economic stability and to raise the well-being of our peoples. And this, clearly, we know, implies the participation of congresses, parliaments, and decisions that perhaps are not to be made here. However, we will assuredly advance here. before we begin this summit, I would like us to ask ourselves if we could adopt specific and coordinated actions to reinforce global growth and job creation. And I insist, not just with a vision of the situation today, but with a vision that is more long-term in nature. We need to ask ourselves if we'll be able to maintain and strengthen our commitment to freedom and to free trade, which implies not yielding to the temptation of protectionism. At the present time, free trade, as always, and perhaps more now than ever, is a tool that is truly powerful, amongst the most powerful tools to promote the growth that we need and to create the jobs that our citizens are demanding of all of us, and that foster the well-being of our people. I ask if we will be able to create a framework so as to follow up to the commitments that we take on here with strong, sustained, and balanced growth. I trust that we will be able to do this and much more, because we have the will and the ability as well as the representation to do it. And this is what we so that young the objective of stability, particularly by strengthening financial stability, to consolidate the efforts to strengthen international regulation for bodies and financial supervision bodies, and as well to bring financial services closer to more people in the world, not just thinking of macroeconomics and finances on a large scale, but specifically people that are outside, everyday men and women, millions of people still don't have access to loan and savings banking services. But taking on the leadership that is incumbent upon each of us, with our peoples and humanity, means that we're also able to address the challenges of the future and the past, such as hunger, that millions of people in the entire world are feeling. And that's why I would ask that we devote relevant space to evaluating this problem and to finding the tools that enable us to face this issue. It is clear, for instance, to analyze policies that enable us to mitigate the adverse effects of the volatility of food prices and of raw material prices. I am well aware that the complexity of the environment makes it apparently difficult for us to stop to analyze the problem of the environment. However, the effects of climate change are real. And this is just an example that I'll give you. Today, 1/3 of Mexico's land is experiencing the worst drought in our recorded history. Every year, more and more resources in Mexico and all over the world have to be devoted to contain the effects of climate change. Objective of generating growth and jobs with the to preserve our environment, the legitimate purpose of maintaining our environment and fighting climate change. And that's why we have devoted time and efforts to developing an agenda that reconciles our desires for growth and jobs with the environment. It is possible. Let's include it. We will include it on our G20 agenda, and we'll never be more on that. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and of government, for those Cabos summit gives us a unique opportunity to face the economic emergency and promote the development and well-being of our people. Let us promote actions that are out of